is a picture of who we are, of how we react to that stress. And so when we start talking about strategies, we're going to be looking at strategies that not only take care of the sources of our stress, but also our reactions, our symptoms, the things that are impacting us. So we need strategies in all of those areas. So we've done the hard work. We've done the part of where are we at, how is it impacting us, and then now we're going to be talking about where do we go from here. So it is break time. I have that it is 10:18 by my clock. We are going to take a 10-minute bio break. That makes it 10:28 by my clock. Now, I have a couple of rules. This is a break. This is a networking break. It is a bio break. This is not check messages, run and answer emails, get work done in the last couple of minutes kind of break. This is a fun break. You did not take your homework out onto the tarmac at recess. You do not take your work out when we go on break. So I will see you back in 10 minutes. Enjoy. in that box. There you go.
I have a daughter who ended up with something they can't diagnose.
Okay.
And I read through these things, and we had migraines, and she's a type A to the nth degree.
Perfect. Grab one from right out of the box, okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen, coming on back to your seats. Do you want me to tell?
Not a type A group after all.
Some are.
A lot of bees in the room still working their way.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming on back to your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, working your way back this way. Coming on back to your seats. All right, we are going to get started. Before break, we talked about our sources of stress. We talked about the impact that that stress was having on us, and we've assessed how well we're dealing with that stress. We're now going to be looking at what do we do to deal with it? What are the strategies that we put into place? So a couple of things up here. Sometimes we use the word stress not necessarily in the right context. Stress is not the stuff that causes it, it's the reaction to it. And so stress is our body's reaction to absolutely everything around it, all of the changes that we go through. And we can have a physiological response, our heart rate starts beating faster. We can have a psychological response, maybe we become more forgetful. Have any of you walked into a room and can't remember why you walked into that room? Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So we can have, where we get a little bit scattered. Or we can have a behavioral response where we stomp, maybe we slam some things down. We have kind of more of a behavioral reaction. But it's our reaction to change, all of the things that are happening around us. So if we look at change, and many of you have heard the steps of change are really the steps that we hear about in grief. And so we go through that shock denial. This can't be happening. We may get angry about it. Why is this happening? We may get upset about it. We get sad about it. And where we start to feel like maybe it's hopeless or helpless in the situation. And then we start to go and we move in transition. And we may go back and forth through these stages, up and down and all over the place. But transition is really the one that I want to talk about. Transition has actually 3 parts to it. And so that first part is what we call the ending or the breaking away, where we start to say goodbye, where we may start to feel like we've lost our identity a little bit about who we are. And as an organization, maybe we feel like we don't necessarily have the same identity that we did previously. Maybe we get a little bit disengaged, where we check out a little bit, where we don't kind of have the same energy that we used to for the organization. We move into that neutral zone where we're dealing with the old and the new at the same time. And that can be the time where it's very frustrating. There may be a lot of conflict that happens. I use this kind of example in organizations that I go to because it makes it a little bit more real. But how many of you have been in a situation in an organization where they've implemented some new technology? Now, whenever we do that, often what happens is that this new technology comes in and it's supposed to make things better, faster, more efficient, more effective. But really, nobody knows how to use the new technology. We haven't really gotten any training on the new technology, so we're actually using the old stuff and the new stuff at the same time. And it's frustrating. And nobody can really answer the questions for us. And that's often what transition, that neutral zone, looks like, where people can't necessarily answer what is the future going to look like. And so we find that maybe there's a little bit more conflict in there. And then the new beginning, where we've kind of moved through the change and we're actually coming out on the other side, where we can see where, in the technology sense, that this new technology is actually better than the old stuff, even though it took a lot of effort to get there. And so as we look as an organization, it's how do we move through these stages, and what does that look like? In the new beginnings, that's where we really start to look at our stress strategies and putting our plan in place and taking care of ourselves and taking care of each other. You know, when we're going through that change, sometimes it's really difficult when we're going through the other stages to be aware of what other people are doing and how they're feeling and being able to care for other people. As we come through, that's when we can start to regroup and be connected to each other. And so how do we get there? What are some of the things that we can do? And so I have what I call the SOS principle. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. What I want you to do at your tables, so this is a kind of a conversation again that I want you to have. Try to keep it at about 3 to 4 people within the conversation. So break yourselves up if you need to at a table. But I want you to talk about what are the things that you do to deal with stress. So I want you to think about all of the different strategies, the techniques, the things that you do to take care of your stress. Now, they must be positive and they must be legal. So only the good things that we do to deal with stress. I know there may be some other kind of sketchy things on the list, but I only want the good things. So the positive legal things that you do to deal with stress. And as a group, try to come up with about 15 things that you do to manage your stress. So as a group, breaking up into 2s or 3s, take a couple of minutes to have some conversations. gentlemen up this way. Focusing up this way. Some of you are being very diligent and you are writing out a whole list, and I can see that you are writing a lot of stuff. Some of you were really talking one or two of these things back and forth and really kind of developing them out, and both of those are okay. I'm going to go around table to table because I want to share some of our really unique ways of being able to deal with our stress. So we're going to go by table numbers. So if you have the highest table number, so I can see 29, but I can't see the far table. What number table are you? You're 28, okay. Anybody higher than 29? 30, okay, so 30 is the highest. Oh, 38, okay. How did we get to 38? Anyways, so 38 gets to stand up first. So 38, yeah, everybody in 38 stand. All right, wave at all the people this way so that you've got their attention. Good. Give me your very best strategy for dealing with stress. Nice. Watching baseball games. I love it. All right. So, who's your favorite team? Oh, and playing golf. Blue Jays. Okay, we have the Blue Jays here. All right. Thank you very much. Do we have a 37? No, 37's empty. 36. 36, stand up. All right. Those of you at 36, what's your favorite strategy? I'm going to have to do this. Sorry, camera person. All right. What was it? Korean sauna. Ooh. That sounds cool. All right, I'll have to ask you more what a Korean sauna is all about, but that sounds pretty cool. All right, thank you. 35? All right, who's the spokesperson for 35? Perfect, what's your tip?
Our tip is to play car video games, like free-for-all driving games.
Okay, Need for Speed video games, like it. All right, 34.
Talked about focusing on our breath, breathing.
Breathing strategies, deep breathing, excellent. One of my favorite ones, perfect. So 34, 33. Who's 33? No 33? Oh, 33 is empty. 32.
Go!
All right, stand up, nice, wave at everybody. Who's our spokesperson?
We listen to music.
Okay.
We go for a walk.
You only get one.
This is so stressful.
I know. But more stress for those people down there who are saying they're taking all of our ideas from us.
Man.
All right, so 30, so we said we'll go with dancing. No, you said music, perfect. All right, 30, what was I at? 31. Planking. How many of you would find planking stressful? Oh. Just in case you're not sure what it is, planking is when you're down on your elbows and your toes, your body is straight and you hold it for a long time. Good for you guys. I don't know if there's many that are going to join you, but good for you guys. So 31, who's 30? All right, stand up. Who's going to be the spokesperson? Over here.
Hobbies,
Hobbies. What kind? Give me one hobby.
No, they're only allowed one.
coloring or drawing.
Who's running this show?
Coloring,
Coloring. Oh, the doodle books and the color books. I love those ones. All right. So that was 30. Who's 29? You guys? Oh, there are 29s over that way.
Physical activity,
Like?
chopping wood, walking, golfing.
Oh, hang on. No. You get one. Chopping wood. All right. So Thank you very much. 29, 28. No, 28 this way. 28. Wave to everybody. There we go. All right, 28.
Gardening. Gardening.
Oh, gardening. I thought you said lying, and I'm going, lying? No, gardening. And this is a perfect time of year for that, so thank you. All right, 27, stand up. Wave at everybody. Got to do the wave first. There we go. All right, and
Our strategy is taking a nice long nap.
napping. I'm going for napping. I like it. All right, 26. Wait, you got to wave first.
Okay, hi.
There we go. Got to wave.
Singing as a group.
Singing. Okay. Perfect. So we're going to go to 25, 24. This way. All right. Stand up and wave. You got to wave first. Wave. Wave at everybody. There we go.
Talking it out.
Talking it out. I like that one. So kind of venting it, talking it. Good. 23. Wait, got it. See, you guys are getting it. There we go. 23. Who's the spokesperson?
One, we're gonna all yell it.
Okay, you're going to yell it?
2, 3, play sports.
Okay. What sport? See, you guys know. What sport? I need a sport. What sport? Football and baseball. We'll go with that one. All right. Coming over to this table, 22. Standing up. You got to wave. There you go.
Reading.
Reading. Good. Reading a good book. All right. 21. Wait. Yep. My music group here.
Yeah, it's me. Being with our pets.
Oh, pets. Awesome. And then we're going to go to 20, way over here. Standing up, waving your arms. Perfect.
We had lots of good ones, but the best was punching things.
Punching things.
I did mixed martial arts.
So there's a little bit of question whether that was on the positive and legal. So we're going to go with a punching bag or a pillow. Good one. All right. This group's standing up. What number are we at? 19? So at 19 table, wave.
Everybody loves to play with water, but the best one is catching crawfish from the river.
Oh, crawfish, guppies, all those kinds of things. My oldest son used to call them Nellies. The little wee baby frogs, they were called Nellies. All right, this table, number 18, standing up. Everybody wave. There we go. 18. And your strategy.
So we chose yoga.
Yoga. I like it. Okay. Awesome. In yoga walking. All right. Hang on. I gotta move this way. Table number 17.
Stand, wave.
Stand and wave.
We all said camping.
Camping. Like that one. Perfect. Go that way. Run all the way back that way. Table number 16, hello. Hello, there we go. All right, table 16.
It was a choice between clergy curling and sex.
Awesome. I like that one. Yeah. There we go. So the question was, how is that a choice? I think it needs to be a choice because I don't think you want to combine those two together. Did you? Perfect. Too cold. Too cold. Okay. We don't need any more of those details. I think this is PG, family oriented. All right, table 15. Everybody up. Waving. Everybody. There we go.
Taking a bath.
Taking a bath. Awesome. All right. Table 14, standing. Wait, there we go. We got the waves going.
Standing and waving.
Good one. All right. Table 13. They got a wave.
Running.
Running. I think a few people groaned on that one. There you go. All right, 12. Everybody up? Everybody wave. Awesome. Okay.
Bicycling.
Bicycling, good. I like that one. All right, table 11. Gotta wave first. Gotta wave. Awesome.
Watching comedy.
Comedy, laughter, humor, awesome. All right. Table number 10. Waving at everybody.
Eat chocolate.
Oh! Hang on. Don't pass that microphone yet. It is legal. And it can be positive, but we've got to monitor it, right? Because, several times throughout the day, then we're going to end up with some other issues, right? Good job. All right. Give me this table here. Yeah, wave. Prayer. There you go. Very appropriate. All right. All the way to table 8. Everybody at table 8, wave. There we go.
Binge watching Netflix.
Netflix. Movie time. Okay. All the way from tear jerkers to adventure and action. All right. Waving. Here we go. Table 7. Awesome.
Communing with nature.
Communing with nature. Awesome. I had a wonderful drive down through this road. I have no idea what the road is called, but by the little lake there, it was awesome. All right. Table number 6.
Exercise.
Oh, you forgot to wave. Wave first. There we go. Swimming. Good. All right. Table number 5. Everybody wave. Good.
Reading.
Oh, reading's already been taken. Giving me another one.
Games.
Solitaire. Awesome. Okay. Table number 4. Oh, right there.
A massage.
A massage. Doesn't that sound nice? Okay, thank you. Table number 3. Oh, now they've got spirit. There we go. Table number 3. Geocaching. You've got some questions around what it is, so you're going to have to answer that for people for later, okay? All right, table number 2. Everybody wave. Good.
Laughter.
Oh, I think we've had that one. Give me another one. I know.
Go to the cottage and get the chainsaw out, if it'll start.
If it starts. Awesome. All right. See, you guys have got many more. All right. And last but not least, the most magnificent table number 1. Waving.
Intentional solitude.
Intentional solitude. I like that. Very, very good. All right. Now, we could have keep on going. Sorry. All right, we can keep on going. There's lots and lots and lots of different things that we can do. And even though we got to table number 1 after 38 tables-ish, there was still probably more on your list, things that we didn't get around to talking about. The idea is to have lots of tools in your tool belt. Because if you just rely on 1 or 2, then if they don't work, you get stuck. You can't do anything else with it. So after years of putting all of these things together, I came up with what I call the SOS principle. And the SOS principle stands for situation, ourself, and support. And we need strategies in all 3 of those areas in order to do the very best that we can to deal with our stress. So how do we take care of the situation? What are the kinds of strategies around that? And it's breaking it down into smaller pieces. It's delegating. It's saying no. It's getting rid of junk. It's problem-solving type strategies. The O stands for how do we take care of ourselves? What are we doing to make sure that we stay healthy? And it's actually two parts. Are we taking care of ourselves? Are we eating right, sleeping right, exercising? And the second part is, what are we doing to give ourselves a break from that stress? So things such as our hobbies, playing sports, talking to funny friends, watching Netflix, reading. Our O strategies don't do anything about the situation. They don't change the situation. What they do is they change us. They either give us the energy to be able to handle that stress, or they give us a break from all of that stress that's going on. The last S stands for support. Who do you talk to? Who do you vent to? Who do you mentor? Who's been there? Who's done that? Who can you rely on? Pets fall into that category. Spirituality falls under that category. That sense that you're not in it alone. That sense that there are others who can understand, who can help you, who can support you. We need strategies in all three. There are some of you who are really good at dealing with the situation, but you don't take care of yourself and you don't reach out to the people around you. And you're not doing the best that you can. There are others who talk and talk and talk and talk and talk about the situation, but you don't do anything about it. You need to be doing something in all three. So when you put your plan together, we're going to ask ourselves three simple questions. What am I going to do about it? How am I going to take care of myself? And who's there to support me? And when you can answer those questions, you're in a much better position to be able to put your plan together. Does that make sense? Okay. Doesn't matter if it's a big challenge or if it's a little challenge, those three questions work. So I want to highlight a couple of things. What we know in our research, whoa, I got a little carried away there. What we know in our research around resiliency. And so they've done all kinds of research and all kinds of studies, and they've looked at all kinds of things that help to build your resiliency. You know, it's the confidence in the work that you do, your abilities that you have, your sense of purpose. You know, can you see kind of where you fit, your ability to adapt? But the most important one out of all of those areas that build your resiliency is our social supports, our network. When we talk about where we've come from and where we're going, this is one of the ones that has taken the hardest hit. A long time ago, we grew up in communities where we knew everybody. We were related to people. When there was a birth in the family, people came together. They brought food. We celebrated. We rejoiced. When there was a death in the family, people came together. We celebrated. We rejoiced. We remembered. And so often what's happening now is that we're living in communities where we don't know who our neighbor is. We don't necessarily even know the person that we are working with. We don't have people around us. We don't have family members who can help us out when times get tough. They may live counties away, countries away, eons away. And so we're finding that people are feeling really lonely. They're feeling really isolated. They don't know how to do this part. And so building that social connection piece is critical. And I think when we talk about where we're at and how do we handle the changes that we're going through, understanding that you are the role for people. You are their social supports, their social connection. You are each other's social supports and social connection. You may not have all of the answers, but that's okay. It's about being able to build up that support, rely on each other, and lead each other to where you need to go. So I want to highlight one of the couple things around this. How do you build it up? And why is it so important? How many of you have heard of the fight and flight response? Fight and flight response is that response that happens in our body when we get into a challenging situation. Long time ago when we were cavemen and cavewomen and that tiger was in front of us, we did one of two things. We either attacked it and killed it and ate it for lunch, or we ran like heck so that we didn't become part of its lunch. That's our fight and flight response. And all kinds of things happen in our body. Releases adrenaline and a whole host of neurotransmitters and hormones. It gets your body ready for action. And we used to think that that was the primary response when it came to dealing with stress. But we now know that something even more exciting happens. And it's what we call our ability to protect the tribe. And so one of when we talk about this mindset of connection, our instinct to protect the tribe is bigger than our instinct for fight and flight. And so let me describe that a little bit. How many of you have heard of stories where there has been a car that has, ran over a child, and somebody has been able to lift that car up, weighing thousands of pounds, and move it off of that child? Have you heard stories like that before? That's the strength of protection and connection. How many of you have a firefighter in your family or in your midst? We've got a few. Emergency responders, first responders? Awesome. They are fighting their fight and flight response. Because if we were only about fight and flight response, they would not run into that burning building. Because that instinct would be so strong that it is self-preservation. That is what fight and flight is about. It's about self-preservation. But they go into that burning building and they save people because that instinct to protect the tribe is so much stronger. When it comes to dealing with our stress, our ability to protect the tribe, our connections to the people around us can buffer us against the impact of stress. It can help to build our resiliency. So I want you to think about, how do we build that within our communities? How do we build that within our families? How do we find ways of asking for help and socializing and networking and venting so that we have that network with us? How do we build that mindset of connection? It is, for me, an absolute pleasure to be in the midst of you because you build that connection so naturally without knowing the science necessarily behind it. We come together with a shared purpose, that shared spiritual purpose of bringing people together to worship, and that builds us together and bonds us together. We have projects that we work on that builds and binds us together. That connection is such a buffer to keep people healthy and to keep people resilient. And we know that people who believe in something bigger than themselves, who come together in an organization larger than themselves, live longer and healthier lives than those who don't. You have a huge purpose for other people. So how do you keep building that? You come together with purpose. You come together with goals. You come together with projects. You come together to see the future in ways of being able to connect. We have something bigger than ourselves that we're striving for. And so when we do that, we are in a much better position to be resilient, to buffer our stress, and to move forward. All right, so I want to highlight a couple of things. So in your booklets, let's start by turning to page 20. Page 20 and 21 is our vulnerability test. We're going to start with the basics. I want you to go through and rate yourself on each of these statements. So the first one says, I eat 3 balanced meals a day. If you always eat 3 balanced meals a day, you're going to give yourself a 1. If you can't remember the last time that you ate 3 balanced meals in a day, you're going to give yourself a 5. Or you might be somewhere in between. Now, for me, balance means at least 3 out of the 4 major food groups. And chocolate is not one of them. Coffee is not one of them. So, going through and rating yourself. Now, be careful on questions 6, 7, and 19. If you do not smoke, if you do not drink alcohol, and if you do not drink coffee, make sure you give yourself a 1. Some people look at the statement for 5 being never, and so they write down a 5. But think about the statement. I almost always avoid smoking. Okay, so it's a 1 if you don't smoke, if you don't drink alcohol, if you don't drink caffeine. Don't put down a 5, put down a 1, okay? Or somewhere in between. So just be careful on the marking of those ones. I'll give you some time to go from questions 1 to question 20. Ladies and gentlemen, up this way. How many of you did better than you thought you were going to do when you looked at that vulnerability test? Good. Quite a few people in the room. We've been hearing these messages for more than 30 years. That we need to eat right, that we need to exercise, that we need to stop smoking, all of those kinds of messages. And so if you did well on it, you've been listening to some of those messages. Anything that you wrote down as being a 1 or a 2 is helping you to manage your stress and build your resiliency. You want to hang on to your 1s and 2s. Anything that you marked off as being a 4 or 5 is probably adding to your stress load, maybe causing you to be more stressed or preventing you from being as resilient as you could be. We want to try to address our 4s and 5s. We want to hang on to our 1s and 2s. So what I'd like you to do in the back of your book on page 34, under the word resiliency, I want you to write down a couple of your 1s and 2s. What are the good things that you're doing to deal with your stress? So highlight your 1s and 2s. Now, the other thing I'd like you to do is to write down somewhere, maybe on the side or underneath, or you can even write it on page 33. It's a blank sheet of paper on 33. What are some of the 4s and 5s that maybe you should think about addressing? Doesn't mean you have to eliminate them necessarily. So maybe if you're drinking a lot of coffee, maybe it's dropping it down to 1 or 2, or maybe adding a couple of decaf in instead of regular. But what are some of the 4s and 5s that maybe need to be addressed? Mark them down. So we want to hang on to the 1s and 2s. We want to maybe change the 4s and 5s so that they don't add more stress to our stress load. Who would like to share with me one of their number 1s? What is one thing that you're doing well? What's a number 1? Not smoking. Good. Over here. Giving receiving affection. Getting enough sleep. Setting goals. Somebody over here. What? Healthy diet. Quiet time for yourself. Right here. Hobbies. Good. All right. So those are some really good 1s and 2s. What were some of the 4s and 5s that maybe need to be addressed? Anybody want to share a 4 or 5? Coffee. How many of you had coffee as one of your 4s and 5s? Okay. Over here, somebody had their hand up as one they wanted to share. Okay, getting enough sleep at night. Okay. Over here. Eating balanced meals. That can be tough to fit in a busy schedule, can't it? All right. So we want to hang on to our 1s and 2s. We want to change our 4s and 5s. Okay. In your booklets, on page 34, let's fill that page out just a little bit more. So we've talked about where does our stress come from. We've talked about the reactions that we've had, and we've started to look at some of our strategies that we have that are helping us. So, very top part, I want you to think of a couple of the sources of stress that you may want to address. What are the ones either that are the most urgent or the heaviest weighing on your shoulders? Something kind of that we've kind of addressed. It may be a big thing or it may be a little thing from earlier today, but identify a couple of your sources of stress and just write them in the top part. So it may be some of the ones that you identified at your table, or it may be some of the ones that you marked off the list when we went through. If you haven't already, because some of you may have joined us late, under the reactions you should have your early warning signs. You should also have what system is most impacted by stress, and you may have some things that are more chronic. The last little bit, you've marked off some of the good things that you're doing to deal with your stress. I also now want you to go back and look at your sources of stress and your symptoms of stress. What other strategies may be helpful? What kinds of things may help you to address maybe some of your symptoms? So I'll give you an example. If you feel it in your neck and shoulders, what are some strategies that you can put into place that may actually do something about that?
Stretching, getting massage.
Good. Stretching, massage. Somebody over here had their hand up. Epsom salts, taking a hot shower, hot bath. Any of you have those magic bags that you put in the microwave? So a heating bag, a heating pad. Looking at how you sit. Are you ergonomically kind of correct in the way that you carry yourself? Let's say it was your stomach. Upset stomach, constipation, diarrhea, all of those fun things. What are some strategies that you may want to look at putting into place? Eating properly, good. What else? Eating more slowly, yes. Taking the time to allow your digestion to do what it needs to do as opposed to grabbing and going, right? Good. What else? Thought I heard somebody say that drink lots of water. Again, helping our digestion to flow. Drink less coffee. Perfect. Walking. Good. Relax after you eat. Just take some downtime. Good. So part of our stress management strategies have to address our symptoms. So if you're looking at those symptoms, try to match a couple of things up to it. All right. Sources of stress. Remember, one of the biggest things I said in order to help us deal with that is how do we reach out? So if you're dealing with somebody or something, who can you reach out and talk to? Who can you connect with? Who can you have fun with? Have you made time to get reconnected? So those are some of the strategies you may want to be looking at. Now, I'm often asked, what are my top ones? What are the top things that I like to do to deal with stress? Or what would be the things that I recommend? And so in this last little bit, I'm going to give you some strategies, but I want you to be aware that there are lots more in your booklets. So if you turn in your booklets to find my page numbers here. Page 23, 24, and 25. So you'll see those under the SOS principle. But I want to highlight some before we go any further. All right. So I have these things that I call cooler back to school. All right. So this is the answering piece of these. All right. So cooler back to school. Here's the first one. What is the easiest way to break your stress response? Anybody have an answer? Breathing. Absolutely correct. Fastest, easiest way to break your stress response. So we're actually going to do this. So pens down, papers down, feet flat on the floor, back straight, one hand underneath your belly button, one hand above your belly button. Yes, you have to show people where your belly button is, okay? Same place. For some people, it may have moved, yeah, a little bit. All right. We're going to breathe in 3 parts. You're going to fill the bottom, fill the middle, fill the top, release the middle, release the bottom. We're going to do 3 of them. We're going to go in through our nose and out through our nose, okay? First one is usually the toughest. Ready? Going in, all the way in, and out, all the way out, and in, and out. Last one, going in, and out. And relax. How many of you could feel your shoulders relaxing down a little bit? For some of us, we can hear things better. Things became a little bit more silent. Did anybody get a little bit dizzy or lightheaded? Yeah. For most of us, we breathe out only using the top third of our lungs, and when we get stressed out, we use even less of that. When we force ourselves to do deep breathing, all of a sudden we've taken in a lot more oxygen, and our body goes, woo! We need to be taking in those deep breaths several times throughout the day. So generally, I recommend 5 to 10 deep breaths several times throughout the day, just for overall maintenance, just to make sure that you're expanding your lungs. When you get into a stressful situation, maybe you're dealing with a difficult person, maybe you've had a stressful call, maybe you're dealing with, a stressful project or technology, doing that deep breathing just to help you to get focused. When we deep breathe, we think clearer, we can problem solve better, we're more creative, and so we can use it to our advantage. The other thing that we can use it for is to help us fall asleep at night. It can calm those racing thoughts. It can relax those muscles so that you can get a good deep sleep. I generally use that deep breathing when I'm driving because I often have to attach these things to something in order to remember to do them. So whenever I get into my vehicle, I do my deep breathing. Now, I don't take my hands off the steering wheel and do this. Keep my hands on the steering wheel, but I can do that deep breathing and allow myself to relax. I also do it when I'm checking my email messages because I can go through, I can read things, and I can do my deep breathing. So find ways of doing it. Some of you need to do it first thing in the morning, maybe while you're just before you eat lunch or as a meditation after lunch, but find ways of bringing more oxygen in so that you can expand your lung capacity. All right. It is our body's override. So find ways of using it. Again, we talked about, taking it from up here to down here. It is the fastest way of being able to go from a stressful situation and bringing that stress back down so that you have your energy to deal with the next stressful situation. 65% of us are sleep deprived. How many of you are getting a good night's sleep? How many of you, actually I'll ask this way, how many hours of sleep do we need? Yes, it depends. So you're right, it does depend. Generally what I say, it's somewhere between 7 and 9 hours of sleep per night, not per week. I know some of you are on the per weekly program, but it's per night. Now, the last study I read said 8 3/4 hours, which seems like a really interesting kind of number. But for those of you that have difficulty sleeping, and I'm going to point out the young people in this group, because when you're young, you can get away with a lot less, but it hits you at some point. So what I'm going to suggest is that you find a way of getting a good night's sleep and get into some really good sleep habits. And we did that as kids. We had great sleep habits usually as kids, but then when we become teenagers and adults, we think we don't need to do that stuff anymore. So find ways of getting a good sleep pattern going. A sleep cycle is 90 minutes long. We need several 90-minute sleep cycles in a row in order to get a good, healthy, restorative sleep. And so when you're looking at waking up and you're feeling groggy or you're feeling edgy, it may be because you're waking yourself up in the middle of a sleep cycle. So generally it's 6 hours, 7.5, 9 hours of sleep that you need. Now, the study said 8 3/4 hours because when you put these back to back, there's a little bit of overlap time in there. So looking for ways of getting a good sleep, a healthy sleep. If you have sleep apnea, seek help because we know of the impact that it has on your overall health. What were you going to say? Yeah. And it has a huge impact, and we know it has impact on our heart health, on our digestive health, and so all kinds of ripple out things can happen. We're very fortunate in Ontario to have sleep clinics covered by OHIP. So that if you find that you have a partner that you're sleeping with who snores or stops breathing in the middle of the night, seek help. It's not just that they're being loud and upsetting you. They probably are. But it's also having an impact on their health. So we take it very seriously. If you're getting a good sleep, you will have most of your energy first thing in the morning. It will dip into the middle of the afternoon, and it will rise up into the early evening. How many of you can notice that kind of a pattern in your energy throughout the day? Any of you have a lot of trouble in the middle of the afternoon, kind of having energy, staying awake? You go to meetings and you actually do like head bobs in the middle of the afternoon? Yeah. So those head bobs, those micro sleeps, you know, it's because we're not getting good, healthy sleep. Or we're doing something like this, where we're sitting and we're not used to sitting. And as soon as we sit still, our body goes, must be nap time, because that's the only time we ever stop. And so, okay. And so it's trying to work against you. So if you're getting a good amount of sleep, look for when you have the most amount of energy. This is the time that you should be doing, you know, the most difficult stuff. This is the time for brainstorming and problem solving and conflict management and anything that requires your creative energy. The middle of the afternoon, when you have the least amount of energy, that's the time to do the mundane stuff, the filing, the cleaning, or whatever it is that doesn't take a lot of creative energy. Now, wouldn't it be nice if we could make each day fit that schedule? But often what happens is that we have stuff to do in the middle of the afternoon. And what do we do when we hit that low? Well, those are the good things that we do, is have a nap or go for a walk. But what do we sometimes do? Chocolate bar, cup of coffee. We do all of the things that just make that energy even worse. It might give us a short spike, and then we come back down. So look for the good things, like going for a walk, having a nap, finding a funny friend to talk to, drinking a glass of cool water very quickly to rehydrate. All of those things can boost your energy. So finding ways to work with your energy. Practice the art of recovery. And I liked some of the things that many of you mentioned as we went table by table. It's things such as enjoying nature, getting out into our garden, praying. All of those things that allow us just to kind of bring our energy in so that we can use it for the things that we need to do. Look for ways of managing energy throughout the day. All right, some stretching exercises. We've been sitting far longer than I like to be sitting. So at your tables, if you can, if you're physically able, find a spot to stand up, push your chair in, kind of own a piece of property. And I'm going to stand right in here. All right. It does not take a lot of work to break that stress response. And if you're sitting, it's okay to sit. You can sit and do these things too. We'll just modify them a little bit. If you have any sort of back injury, neck injury, be careful with any of these. There's nothing worse than getting hurt in a stress workshop. Somehow it's hard to explain, okay? So do what you can as much as you can. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to stand with our feet shoulder width apart. Our knees are slightly bent, and our arms are hanging at our sides. So no hands in your pockets, no arms crossed, hanging at your sides. We're going to start by breaking the stress response that often builds up in our neck and shoulders. So very simply, you're going to take your chin and look over your right shoulder. That's the other right for some of you. Okay. Just looking over your shoulder as far as you can, back to the center, and looking over your left shoulder. And back to the center. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to drop our right ear down to our right shoulder. It's our ear that comes down, not our shoulder that comes up. So relax your shoulders first, hands hanging at your side. Take your ear and tilt over to your right. Those arms relax. Stretch it as far as you can. And back up. Left ear to left shoulder. And back up. I heard some of you say that hurts. How many of you feel that pulling, tugging? Some of you have lost that mobility from left to right. As we get stressed, as those things tighten up, we lose that left to right mobility. And so we want to stretch those out several times throughout the day just to keep those nice and long and moving. Now, one of the things that we know is not only can we stretch them to get them to relax, but we can also squeeze them to get them to relax. So what you're going to do is feet are shoulder width apart, knees are slightly bent, arms are hanging at your side. You're going to pull your shoulders up when I say up to your ears, and you're going to squeeze them in until I say stop. Okay, so ready? 1, 2, 3, pull them up, squeeze, 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 harder, harder, squeeze, 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 and let them go. And there's that afterwards. Ready? Do it again. Pull it up, squeeze, 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 harder, 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 squeeze, 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 and let them go. Right ear to right shoulder. And up, left ear to left shoulder. And back up. Good. So think of the ways, if you feel it in your neck and shoulders, that you can build this into your daily routine, that you're doing this several times throughout the day just to get that mobility back, okay? So the next thing we're going to do is for our shoulders, you're going to take your fingertips and place them on your shoulders. All right. We're going to take our elbows, raise them up to the ceiling. And down. Raise them up. Point them up as high as you can and down. And up. And down. All right, now we're going to bring them in. I want you to touch them at the front if you can. So try to bring them in at the front. And then I want you to push as far back as you can. Try to get those shoulder blades to touch at the back. So push back. Often from sitting, we get rolled shoulders, so we want to stretch that back. Bring them in again. And push them back as far as you can. Good. Raise them up to the ceiling. And down. All right. Now, the next one we're going to do, I want you to, again, be very, very careful with this. Only do as much as you can. So feet are shoulder width apart. Knees are slightly bent. Hands are on your hips. Now, we're going to, which one are we going to do first? We're going to do, our hips are going to stay stationary, and our shoulders are going to rotate around our hips, okay? So because we're in a crowded room, we're all going to do this together in the same direction, following the instructions so we don't bonk heads. So I'm going to go this way. So we're going to bend forward at the waist. So you can see bending forward at the waist. You are now facing 12 o'clock. So I want you to think that there's a big clock that's going all the way around you. You're facing 12. You're going to rotate over to 3 o'clock. So 3 o'clock is not bent forward, it's bent sideways. So take it way over. How many of you remember I'm a Little Teapot? You know the song that used to sing? You should be able to take that hand over top. You're facing 3. Now, very carefully, you're going to go back to 6. Nope, this is 6. Over to 9. So now you're facing again sideways. All right. And then back to 12 o'clock. Going the opposite way. 12. 9. Keeping your hips still, just moving your shoulders. 6. 3. Over on the side. And back to 12 o'clock. Good. How many of you could feel that moving in this area here? Stretching that out. Again, as we sit, we squish all of this down. We want to stretch it out and open it up. Now, for the next one, feet are shoulder width apart, knees are slightly bent, hands are on your hip. Your shoulders are going to stay still. So our shoulders are going to be the pivot point, and our hips are going to rotate around it. So you're going to put your hips out to 12 o'clock. Looks like this. I want you to imagine that you're in your congregation right now, standing at the front of the church, and they are wondering what the heck you're doing. All right. Our hips only are going to rotate over to 3 o'clock, so push your hips out over to 3. Keep your shoulders still, just your hips are going forward. All right. Push your butts out to the people behind you to 6 o'clock. Over to 9 o'clock. Just push it out through your hips. And back to the hangout position. Put a smile on your face because everybody's watching and you're on camera. All right, go the opposite way. From 12 to 9 to 6 to 3. Back to the hangout position. Awesome. Stand back up again. Good job. All right, I'm not going to do the one for our legs just because we have lots of different mobilities and issues and some space issues. We need a little bit of space, but we are going to do our hands. So hands up. Spread those fingers as far as you can, especially if you do any keyboarding, you want to make sure that your hands stay healthy. All right, and lots of writing, so stretch those fingers out as far as you can. Squeeze. Open. Squeeze. Some of you are now singing Sunday school songs. I can hear it. Ready? Open. All right. Thumbs across. Fingers down. Open. Fingers down. Thumbs across. Open. Thumbs. Fingers. Thumbs. Fingers. It's one of these, isn't it? All right. Open them up. Give them a shake. Now, I want you to hold on to something. So whether it's the back of a chair, if you're sitting, you can still do this. I want you to do the dog leg shake. Kick it out. All the way down to your toes. Flip sides. Kick it out. All right. Now, we've done necks, shoulders, heads. We've done hips. We've done hands. We're going to do faces. This is where you get to partner up. So grab a partner. Don't physically grab them. Just partner yourself up. Have somebody that you can look at face to face, okay? If you need to, you can make it a group of 3. That's okay. But try to make it 2s if you can. Now, between each other, share your birth date and decide who is the oldest and who is the youngest. All right. For how many of you that was the most stressful part of today? Good. All right. We're good to share. If you are the youngest, you get to go first. So, first, actually, we're going to do the first couple together, and then we'll split it out. So the first thing that you're going to do is face your partner, and we're going to stretch out those facial muscles, and you're going to do that by giving a great big yawn. Do not cover it up. Let them see all of your feelings. Ready? 1, 2, 3, yawn. Good. Now, that was the stretching. We can also do the squeezing. So if you are the youngest, you are going to face your partner, and you are going to squeeze all of your facial muscles into the end of your nose. And just in case, where's our camera person? Can you see me? Can you put me on screen for a second? All right. There we go. Come in closer. And closer. That's as close as we go? All right. It's going to look like this. I'll do sideways. Here we go. You're going to squeeze all of the muscles into the nose, and it looks like this. Yes, you two will be doing this on camera. All right. So, youngest person, you're going first. And now feel free to capture everybody else, okay? On the count of 3, youngest partner is going to go first. You're going to squeeze until I say stop. Ready? 1, 2, 3, squeeze, 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 and stop. Now, I think the older of the partner can do much better. If you are the older of the partner, the more mature, the more experienced, the better of the partnership. Your job is to squeeze even better than they did. Ready on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, squeeze, 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 and let it go. Give a great big yawn, everybody. Shake your hands up high. Shake your hands down low. Shake them around in circles. And have a seat. Yay! Nice Nicely done, everyone. Nicely done. I hope that gave you some examples of some of the exercises or exercises that you can do to very quickly break that stress response. You don't want it to build up in your body. You don't want it to build up in your muscular system. You don't want it to impact your circulation. If your hands are cold, get them moving, because that's a symptom and can have a much bigger impact. If you feel like your neck and shoulders are tight, it's probably blocking the blood flow, so you're not going to be as creative. You're not going to have the same kind of energy. Find ways of breaking that stress response. All right. Any idea what 100 equals 10 means? This is my youngest son. Big toothy grin. If laughing 100 times a day is the equivalent of a 10-mile run. Now, I said wow too, but unfortunately this was in the Globe and Mail and they kind of misquoted the research. That's okay. 100 times a day is the equivalent of 10 minutes on a rowing machine. I'm still good with that. I'm more likely to laugh 100 times today than I ever am to spend 10 minutes on a rowing machine. So what are you doing for fun? One of the biggest things that we can do to break our stress response is to look at all of the things that are happening around us and find them funny. We get so serious about this stuff. We make things, bigger than they are in the grand scheme of things, and we lose our sense of humor. We lose our sense of spirit. So what are you doing to build fun into your life? I challenge you to laugh. I challenge you to make other people laugh. That is one of the best gifts that we can give to the people around us. So have some fun, lighten up. This group has been great. You've been able to enjoy each other, but carry that through into the other aspects of your life. All right, cool or back to school? Next question. What percentage of our diet is made up of processed foods? All right, so here are the guesses. All right, so I heard 71. No. All right, I heard 47 in there. All right, how many of you think it's 62? How many of you are going to go with 23? And 62 is the answer. So think about that. 62% of our diet is made up of processed foods. It takes more energy for our body to be able to metabolize those processed foods. So think about the kinds of things that you're eating. Anybody know what GIGO stands for? Awesome. Garbage in, garbage out. If you're putting crappy stuff in, you can't expect that you're going to stay healthy. You're not expect that you're going to be creative, or that you can problem solve, or that you're going to be able to function the way that you need to. So part of our resiliency is making sure that we take care of ourselves. All right, cool or back to school? What is our average sugar consumption per person per year in pounds? Per person per year. All right, I heard, so A is 48 pounds? No. I heard 126. No. How many of you are going with 73? How many of you are going with 151? It's 151 pounds of sugar per person per year. Now, when we look at it, it's recommended that we have no more than 9.5 teaspoons. So think of, those of you that are cooks, 9.5 teaspoons. But we are more than doubling that. Now, thankfully, our teens are actually coming back down. This number is slowly changing because we've really started to understand the negative impact of drinking pop and sugar drinks. And so the more that we can impact this, the more that we can bring it down, the healthier we're going to stay, the more that we're going to be resilient in the lives that we are leading. All right, how many of you have played Cash Cab or watched Cash Cab before? A few? All right, so we're going to play our own mini version of Cash Cab. There are no cash prizes. You get dinner. All right. And by the way, somebody has lost their dinner ticket. So please check out. If you have it, it's going to be up here. All right, so here it is. Here's the question. What is the number one personality trait? So personality trait that promotes happiness. All right, so first three people to get to 1, 2, 3 mics, you get to answer. So mic number 3, number 2, number 1. Don't answer yet, just stay at your mic. I need somebody for mic number 3. We have a contestant. Here they go. All right, contestant number 1. What do you think it is?
Optimism.
Optimism. Strike number 1. But give her a hand because she was brave enough to come up. Contestant number 2.
Gratitude.
Oh. Contestant number 3, what was your guess going to be?
Gratitude as well.
Look at you guys. I think you guys cheated. Oh, hang on. Oh, no, where'd it go? Ah, hang on. We got to do.
I see your stress level going up.
All right, yeah, I know. See, I'm very grateful that I have a clicker that will get me back to where I need to go while I sing and dance up here at the front. You got it right. There you go. So congratulations to both of them. There we go. See, technology doesn't always work the way you want it to. But gratitude is the number one personality trait. Something so easy for us to put into place. Anybody in this room have a gratitude journal? Awesome. How many of you regularly give thanks for everything that you've received during the day? Good. You know, we can call it prayer, you can call it whatever you would like, but it's recognizing, and when we recognize all of the things that are happening around us, it puts life back into perspective. You know, how many of you have heard the saying, don't have a $200 reaction to a $2 glass of spilt milk? Anybody heard that before? Where we overreact. How many of you have heard of making mountains out of molehills? Mm-hmm. Gratitude helps us to keep life in perspective. And so being able to be thankful for all of the things that come, we know it feels good, but we also know that scientifically it promotes happiness. It promotes that fulfilled life that we're longing for. My favorite quote says, what the caterpillar calls the end of the world, the master calls a butterfly. What the caterpillar calls the end of the world, the master calls a butterfly. For me, that is my epitome of keeping life in perspective, that we don't know what's going to happen. But if we just keep making those next steps, some really beautiful things can take place. Going back to the SOS principle. 3 simple letters, SOS. Repeat after me. What does the S stand for? Situation. What does the O stand for? What does the last S stand for? Support. Situation, ourself, and support. Do you remember the 3 questions that go along with that? First S, situation. The question is? Good. What am I going to do about it? O. Good. How am I going to take care of myself? Last S? Who's going to support me while I go through this? When you can answer those questions and you can put them into place, you're going to be in a much better position to be able to deal with your stress. I'm almost at the end of my time. I want to mention a couple of things. In your booklets, page 35, I want you to do a little bit of introspection. I want you to think about what do you need to do. So we've talked about where does it come from? We've talked about the impact that it has on you. We've talked about the SOS plan and how we can put that together for ourselves, how we can answer those questions. What would your individual plan need to look like? What is it that you need to do? What is it that you need to focus on? What is it that you need to maybe learn more about? Do you have enough strategies under the situation? Are you able to take care of yourselves or give yourself a break from that stress? Do you have enough support people in your support circle to be able to handle whatever's coming your way? So I want you to take a couple of minutes, give me at least 2 strategies, 2 things that you are going to do moving forward from here that you're going to put in place for your plan. So what 2 strategies are you going to focus on? So I'll give you a couple of minutes just to think about that. And when you're done, I want you to share that with your partner, because I know that if you tell somebody, you are more likely to follow through. So what 2 things are you going to do in order to take care of yourself, build up your resiliency, and lead the life that you would like to lead? All right, ladies and gentlemen, up this way. Up this way. I want you to share some of those ideas if you can. So I'm going to start with this corner over here to my left and to the back. Anybody in that area want to share one of their strategies that they're going to put in place? What was one thing that you're going to do once you leave here? Perfect. You in the yellow, stand up nice and loud. Come to the microphone.
Gratitude journal.
Start a gratitude journal. Awesome. Again, something very simple to do. It doesn't need to be an elaborate thing. Just writing down a couple times a day some of the things that are happening. All right? This way. Oh, perfect. I'll come that way first. You in the blue, you go first.
Okay. Locate. Find out where you are right now. Okay. And deal with what you're dealing with right now. Forget about what happened already, and you really can't control totally what's coming before you.
Perfect. Being present in the moment and the situation that you can control right now. Awesome. All right, at the back, you had one standing up. Reconnect with friends. Find those friends. Make dates with those friends. Send them an email. Send them, this is a great way to combine the gratitude and the friendship. Tell them what you're thankful for about them. What a better way to boost somebody's self-esteem and their connection to you if you tell them why you're grateful for their friendship. All right, this group, somewhere in here. Perfect. Come on over.
Saying no.
Saying no. Awesome. It's hard to do. How many of you have ever said no and then felt guilty about saying no? How many of you have then turned around and said yes after you've said no? When we say no, we're saying no for a reason, right? So we need to say no based on our priorities. If you're already overloaded, you're not doing anybody a service, especially yourself, if you take on more than you can handle. So I'm going to go this way and then that way, because she's been waiting very patiently.
We were talking about gratitude with people, and something that I've done, and I know a lot of people do, is have gratitude posts on Facebook or online or something like that. So you're sharing it with people in your life. So maybe if you don't have time for a phone call or something like that, you can post images or post words that you're grateful for the day, and people in your life can see it and or remind you to continue doing it.
Good. Yes, because they do remind you when you stop doing it that you haven't done that one for today. Awesome. Good.
I just wanted to add about the saying no. I had a friend once helpfully remind me that to say no is a complete sentence. I need to give no explanation.
Mm-hmm. I like that. One of my favorite yeah, that deserves an applause, absolutely. One of my favorite quotes, again, to build on that other one, says, "How thin can I spread myself before I no longer exist?" How thin can I spread myself before I no longer exist? And for many of us, we're in a caregiving role. We reach out to other people and we give and give and give. We forget to put it into ourselves, and then we are not there to be able to do the things that we want to do. So I like that. No is a healthy response to the situations. All right, I've done that quote. I'm going to go in the middle here. Is there somebody who wants to share their idea? Looking up. Nobody's making eye contact with me at the moment. Okay. All right, I'm going to go to this group here. Anybody in that kind of group there want to share one of their ideas with me? Now they're pointing at each other. They're saying, no, you go, you go. All right, nobody wants to share? All right, these tables here. Anybody here want to share? Awesome. Both of you come on up to the mic.
Don't sweat the small stuff.
Don't sweat the small stuff. And most of the stuff is small stuff. Absolutely. There is big things that we're facing. There are things that are life challenging, that are altering, that are really kind of immense in size. But a lot of the stuff that we add to our stress kind of load is a lot of the little stuff. If we can get rid of the little stuff, then we're much better at dealing with the bigger stuff. So good work.
Yes is a complete sentence.
Oh, please explain.
Say yes with your whole heart when you're ready to say yes. Do it with joy.
Do it with joy. And don't be afraid of new experiences. I think that's one of the things that I've tried to practice over the last couple of years now, is when an opportunity presents itself, even if I don't feel like I have the right experience or the right skill set, or I'm a little bit afraid of doing it, I've tried to venture out and say yes. And one of the things that I said yes to several years ago was joining my son's karate class. Now, I was the only woman, and I was much older than even the senseis involved. You will now see in my truck a whole bunch of karate equipment, because tomorrow I'm going to compete in the national tournament. That deserves no applause whatsoever, because I'm not very good at it, but I now have my second-degree black belt because I stuck with it. So it's perseverance, it's saying yes and being open, even when I didn't consider myself to be athletic. It was way outside of my comfort zone, but it has brought me immense joy and friendships and challenge and tears. I'll tell you about the tears another time. But that for me, it was by saying yes. So thank you. Over this way.
In order to reduce stress, I have a new motto that I find is really helpful, and it's the art of being wise is to know when to remain silent.
The art of being wise is to know when to remain silent. I like that. Sometimes we need to sit back, button up, and see what's going to happen and see what the outcome might be. Good. All right, I'm going to go into this back corner again. So is there somebody else who wants to add to that? She's being very careful that I'm not going to pick on her as she walks by the microphone. Anybody in here? Somebody has an idea. Perfect. Come on up.
One of many new mottos this year, time you enjoy wasting isn't wasted.
Awesome. Time enjoyed, what was it? Time enjoyed?
Time you enjoy wasting is not wasted.
Is not wasted. I like it. Thank you. Absolutely. It's that art of recovery. All right, you can come up to that microphone here, but I'm going to go with you first.
When you have something to do, allow a lot more time to get it done.
Absolutely. When we talk about the situation stuff, how many of you have made to-do lists and you put like 40 things appointed at the end of the day when you only got 1 or 2 of them done? How many of you make an after-do list? Like when you look back on the day, then you make a list and you mark it off because now you know it. You can feel good about marking these things off. So be kind to yourself. Know how much time things take. My biggest one is I'm just going to check a couple of emails. And then 2 hours later, I'm still responding and checking to those emails. So be very clear how much time you have to give to certain tasks.
Be more aware of emotions and stress levels.
Beware more of, what was the first word?
Emotions and stress levels.
Emotions and stress levels. Awesome. Yeah, you know, sometimes the emotions kind of sneak up on you. And especially if you're tired out and worn out, they can sneak up on you even faster. So watch those stress levels. Take kind of note of them as you go through the day. Anybody in this front corner, I'm going to invite you to come on up. Anybody have a strategy to share? Good, come on up to that one and you go over to that one. There we go.
Procrastinate less, because I tend to do that a lot and it gets really stressful when the work piles up.
Okay, that's a hard one to do because we say procrastinate less, but it comes very naturally sometimes, doesn't it? And especially if there's something with a bit of fear or challenge to it, it's easier to kind of stay back for a while. So sometimes we just need to know, and one of my suggestions to do is if you've got something difficult, do it first thing in the morning. Because that's when you have the most energy and the most amount of gumption, where you may not have that later on in the day.
When my shoulders are like this, to stop and breathe and stretch.
Awesome. Breathe, stretch, notice what your body is saying. Very good. All right, far corner over there. Anybody want to come up to the microphone? Nobody's wanting to come. All right, we're going to do the back corner. Anybody from the back want to come up? One last strategy from someone. Come on, there's a lot of wisdom in the back side of this room. Somebody come up and share. They're keeping their wisdom to themselves. All right. Oh, we have somebody stepping up. There we go. No, she was just adjusting her seat. All right. One last strategy. Does somebody want to share? Perfect. We have one more person right here.
Spend time with my, I think she's a grandniece, 6-month-old grandniece, once a month.
Awesome. Babies, pets. Let me just do this. Babies, pets, friends, all of those things can help us. Oops, I don't know how to turn it off. There, my timer. There we go. All right. I invite you to think about these strategies. Keep that SOS principle in mind. What am I going to do about it? How am I going to take care of myself? And who's there to support you? I want to wrap up with one final story. It was hot. It was August, and I was in a terrible mood. It had been one of those kind of days, and I wasn't feeling particularly happy or grateful, and probably feeling very edgy. I needed to pick my 2 sons up from daycare, and I was running behind. And so I get to the daycare, throw them into the van, and we head off because we had an event to go to that night. All I wanted to do was get home. My oldest sons say, "Mommy, guess what?" And I cringed. You see, Taylor was learning some words at that particular time in his life from kids that were older than him in daycare. You know those words that you don't want them to say when they're out in public. Those words that are not appropriate, but they test them out on mom and dad to see what kind of a reaction that they're going to get. And if it's a good reaction and like mom gets upset, then that's a keeper. And so from the back seat, he said, "Mommy, guess what?" And I thought, I don't want to do this right now. All I want to do is get home, get supper on, and get out the door. And so my first instinct was to turn the radio up nice and loud and pretend that I didn't hear him. And then that mummy guilt took over. And so I said to him, "What?" And it had that kind of a tone to it. And he looked at me and he said, "Mommy, your sunflowers are awesome." Awesome was his new word of the day. Now, you see, we did plant these sunflowers. We planted them in May. I had weeded around them. I had gardened around them. I had tended to them with him, and they were awesome. They were 12 to 15 feet tall. But it wasn't until that day that I actually took the time to look at them. They were awesome. It was awesome that that was his word, and it was awesome that he was able to point that out to me. And I make it a point of looking around and seeing the awesome. I was telling some of you that I'm from Little Britain, Ontario. I live in the middle of the Kawarthas. It is a beautiful part of the country. I enjoy where I live. But awesome doesn't need to be just out in nature. One of the things that I really loved to do was in downtown Toronto, and some of you may remember this, on the corner of Bloor Street was the Elvis Moose. How many of you remember seeing the Elvis Moose? It made me giggle every single time. He was in his white garb with rhinestones on, the big kind of flippy thing that they did with its hair. I laughed every single time. There are awesome things happening, and there are awesome people around you. People who give their heart and their soul, who have a lot of care, and who are here to help all of us kind of move in the same direction. Yes, there's going to be conflicts. Yes, there's going to be differences of opinions, but you now have an opportunity to take care of each other as you move forward in this transition. You've got the skills to be able to be resilient, to keep your sense of humor, to build that spirit, and to live the life that's flourishing and full. I hope I've given you some things to think about. I hope I've given you some places to start, some resources that you're able to use. This wasn't to solve all of the world's problems, not even to solve all of your problems. It was just to give you a place to start. Keep that SOS principle in mind. Know that there's resources that are available. You have my contact information. You have my website. There's over 400 pages of information there that you can access. If you can't find something, let me know. I will find it for you. But know that this is just the start of the journey, and that there are lots of things that you can do to build that resiliency. So I wish you the very best along your journey. I've come to the end of my time. There is no such thing as a workshop without a workshop evaluation. So take that little form, fill it out, let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you'd like to see more of. And again, I'm sticking around, so if you have questions, come on up and see me. But I wish you the absolute best. One final thing. Oh, sorry. Thank you. One final thing. I want you to keep in mind that, again, my saying, happiness is not a destination, and we've heard that before, or an endpoint, but it is the ability to be fully engaged in loving and caring for ourselves and for those around us that we surround ourselves with. I wish you the absolute best. Thank you.
I do want to take this opportunity, Beverly, to formally thank you on behalf of Toronto Conference. Perhaps one of the SOS principles that we in this room often forget as caregivers and the leaders that we are is when someone offers to help you, let them. So I thank you for your offer to help us and for being here to help us and to offer to us all of these principles. We're a tough crowd because we tend to be the kind of people who don't let people help us and don't take advice well, and we give it. And it's very easy to know these things intellectually. It's hard to feel them, and you have certainly made us feel them today. And I feel we gather together, and we have the opportunity in the next 48 hours or so that we're going to put all of these things to use as we do the rest of the work of conference and feel some of the stress and put some of the stress on ourselves and each other. And so we will take this forward. And ultimately, we get very business-oriented here because that's what we're here to do. And we sometimes forget our main purpose is for connecting with one another and gathering together in the grace and the love of God. And so I thank you for connecting us. We know an awful lot about each other more than we did this morning, maybe a little too much. But that's good. That's a good thing because it puts us in the place of truly gathering together. So we thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to call at this time on Marlis to just take us through some greetings and some logistics about our gathering here today. And we just have a few announcements if you're looking at your watch and wondering how long lunch is. There's some announcements and some logistical things to go through before we let you go.
Good afternoon. My name is Marlise Dupuis. I'm chairperson of the annual general meeting planning committee for St. Paul's. On behalf of my entire team, tremendous team, I welcome you all. Thank you. And basically, I'm letting you know that we have a delicious lunch for all of you. We have a different caterer. We thought we'd share some of the wealth around so that you can sample, some cuisine from another caterer. It's Phil's Catering, and so we're very excited about that. Lunch will be served at 12:30. Once again, in the on the ice surface to your right, which is exactly behind the registration desk area, okay? And there are plenty of tables there. It will be served buffet style today for the lunch, and we'll give you particulars about the dinner service later. I think that's okay. I don't need to say anything about the gender. That's all been taken. Once again, thank you very much for joining us. It's with mixed feelings that... Okay, thank you. I've just been reminded, those of you who have a special card or indicator for restrictive diets, please see the staff downstairs, the volunteers. They will direct you to a separate table. We've taken particular cautions to have it separate so there's minimal potential for cross-contamination. We're hoping no cross-contamination, but nothing is really 100%, unfortunately. Again, on behalf of my planning team and all the volunteers, we welcome you today and for the remainder of the weekend, and hope you enjoy your stay and your time in Midland. Thank you very much.
My name's Susie Henderson. I'm part of the conference staff team, and I just want to invite you to participate in the social media streams of the meeting. So we're trying to maintain a presence on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And we use social media as a supplement to the meeting. It's not the place where we're doing business of the meeting, but we like to add another layer to the conversation. So it's a place to lift up gratitude, to express your voice, to share your prayers. And we like to sort of see it as something that just adds another nice layer into the conversation. And we'd also like it to be a friendly place to learn. So after I do my announcement, I'm going to come through with these little buttons that have our accounts on them for Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you're somebody who can help other people with those applications, then I invite you to wear a button so that if you're somebody who'd like to learn about those things, you have someone to ask, and that we just kind of create a friendly place for people who maybe, there's a number of people who for the first time at annual meetings have said, well, I don't really understand what Twitter is, but maybe this is a friendly place to learn. So we'd like to just give you that opportunity as well. It's also the place to have the conversation with the world. So even just this morning, folks in this court, we've had sent some greetings to Maritime Conference, who's also meeting and doing some storytelling this weekend, and we can kind of get a sense of what their meeting is about. Some people are keeping an eye on the Reclaiming Jesus events that are happening in Washington, and 2,000 faith leaders speaking out there. There's folks who are praying for folks in Mississauga around some of the bombing event that happened there. So this meeting is connected to the world, and the social media is one of the places where we have that. Just two features I want to say. We've invited people, because this is the last meeting of Toronto Conference, to share some of your own stories and voices. We're going to do that more tomorrow. But if you would like to share with words or a video some of your own reflections on what Toronto Conference has meant to you, I invite you to do that with the hashtag TCYourStory. And a hashtag is just a little code you put into your message that helps create a thread, so people can search for that hashtag and find that conversation. And there are some posted there now. If you look on Facebook, there's a couple, and we'll keep adding to those as the meeting goes on. And we've recreated our little selfie frame that we used last time with a new message created in God's image. And I invite you to take your own picture, or some of the young people helped me figure out a real technical thing, which was, what do you call it when you take a picture of someone else and they said, Susie, that's just a photo. So you could get someone else to take your photo with the frame, or you can take a selfie with it. So thanks for participating. The Wi-Fi is Midland Public. It's a bit on and off again, but there is no password. So
I just want to quickly note that the deadline is at 12:30 p.m. for accountability questions and new business. And just a reminder that we are live streaming the meeting. A reminder that there are service animals in the court with us and in the building. And so if the service animal has their vest on, please do not pet them as they are working. And a reminder, please, to mute cell phones. And the all-gender washroom is located to my left. And, okay, and I'll turn it to Jody for a second.
Yeah, just we were asked about the Wi-Fi earlier. Just a request, if you're using your devices to view the resource book, please download it so that you don't have it open on the Wi-Fi, and that way we're not using the bandwidth to look at the resource book. So please be sure to do that. And okay, yeah, so if you were able to fill out the survey for Beverly, please leave them on your table and we'll collect them over the lunch hour. And then I want to let you know that Toronto United Church Council is able to do a screening for us of a movie that they have been involved in called Finding Peter Bryce. And I understand it's quite a powerful piece of our history, that it's important in our journey towards reconciliation, that it's important that we all know this story. So they're offering 2 screenings today during lunch. So some of you can choose to go and get your lunch and then go and see the movie. Others may go and see the movie, then go and get your lunch. So the bonus is it will reduce your wait time in line to get your food. And the screening will be at the Huronia Museum, which is just a short walk away from the center we're in now. If you go down the stairs or down the elevator, Zena, one of the volunteers, will be down there and will direct you to head towards the museum. So we're grateful to Toronto United Church Council for sharing this experience with us today as well.
And there is no charge for that.
Yeah, there's no charge for that. The candidates. Yeah.
If you are a candidate, and we hope you know that you are, otherwise we should talk, please meet at 1:45, which is when we are gathering back from lunch. So at 1:45 at table 13. We just need to give you a quick word of instruction about the afternoon. Nothing stressful, just some instruction, okay? And the retirees will do so after the break after that.
Yes, so the retirees, same instruction at 4 o'clock. Please gather at that table.
Okay. Thank you. Do you want to talk to Karen? She's going to be the one leading. Okay, all right. We're going to go to lunch, and just a reminder that it is we're giving you a little extra time for lunch because lunch is always too short, and so enjoy yourself through that lunchtime and try to chat with others and take some time outside. It is a very warm and humid day, so be mindful of that. And our gathering music begins at 1:45, and at 2 p.m. we will be hearing from our ministry candidates. So please gather for that. And I'm going to call on the band to lead us in singing grace, and I would invite you, as you're able and willing, to stand.
So this might be a new song for some of you, and so we're going to sing it through twice. We cannot own the sunlit sky, the moon, the wildflowers growing, for we are part of all that is within life's river flowing. With open hands receive and share the gifts of God's creation, that all may have abundant life in every earthly nation. Sing along. We cannot own the sunlit sky,